Hi everyone, my name is Faith. I'm your go-to lender when it comes to all things mortgage. Again, I'm licensed in 5 states, that is Texas, Missouri, Pennsylvania, Kansas, and Georgia. Today, I'm going to be talking about self-employed borrowers. The reason I decided to tackle this topic is because I see the frustrations of so many people when they come to me, they apply for the mortgage loan and they cannot qualify. And some of them have to wait for another year. Some of them have to wait actually for 2 years just for them to get pre-approved for a mortgage loan. If you're self-employed, you file your taxes in, I think, 4 different ways. Number one, you either file it as a 1040 Schedule C, or you file it as an S-Corp return, which is 1120S. You can file it as a C-Corp return, which is 1120, or maybe if you're in partnership with someone, you file a 1065 return, which is a partnership return. For both 1065 and 1120S, which is the S-Corp and partnership, you generate something called a K1 on those returns, and that K1 flows to your personal. Now, let's talk a little bit about the Schedule C, because majority of the people I get to deal with, it's either they have Schedule C returns, or they have S-Corp returns, or they have the C-Corp, or even 1065 returns. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Schedule C. When it comes to Schedule C, for example, if you're being confused, what is a Schedule C? Who files a Schedule C? If you're paid with a 1099, it means your 1040 return or your taxes have a schedule, which is a Schedule C, which is basically just the profit and loss from the business page. Now, the Schedule C is divided into 2 parts. That is Part 1 and Part 2. Part 1 generally just lists the gross sales or how much you made. So if you have a 1099, for example, and that 1099 has 100,000 on it, that 100,000 is going to go to Part 1 of the Schedule C. Part 2 is the expenses, which is from number 8, all the way to number 27B. So that one just gives you a list of expenses that you can list. Whatever expenses are associated with whatever kind of business you're doing, you can list them on Part 2. Now, what do we look at? There are different line items or numbers that I look at when it comes to Schedule C. Schedule C has number 1 to number 31, or line item number 1 to line item number 31. I'm mostly interested in line 31, which is the net income. So I'm not looking at how much you made for the gross. I'm looking at what did you report after expenses. Again, I'm interested to see if there's anything on line 13. Line 13 is the depreciation. If you have an asset for a business, especially people who own trucks, depending on when you bought it, you can be able to depreciate it. And because depreciation is a non-cash expense, it's an expense to you, but for me, I'm going to add it back. So it's an advantage on your end if you have depreciation. I'm also looking on a number that most people miss out on, or actually some people get affected